Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a timeless tale that has captured hearts for generations. A story about a boy, a dream, and a brush that could change the world. This is the story of Ma Liang and his magic brush. Once upon a time, in a small, humble village, lived a young boy named Ma Liang. Ma Liang had a passion that burned brighter than any fire. He absolutely loved to draw. He saw the world in lines and colors, in shapes and shadows. But there was one problem. Ma Liang was so poor that he couldn't even afford a single paintbrush. Did that stop him? Not for a second. Every day you could find Ma Liang outside, a simple stick in his hand, his canvas, the dusty ground. He'd draw birds so lively you could almost hear them sing, and flowers so detailed you could almost smell their fragrance. He poured his heart into every line, his imagination his only tool. Then, one night, something incredible happened. As Ma Liang slept, he had a vivid dream. An old, white-haired man with a kind and gentle smile appeared before him. The old man looked at Ma Liang and, without a word, handed him a paintbrush. It wasn't just any brush. It felt special, almost ... alive in his dream. When Ma Liang's eyes fluttered open the next morning, he thought it was just another beautiful dream. But then he saw it. Lying right there, beside his simple mat, was a paintbrush. It was the very same one from his dream. His heart leaped with a joy he had never known. He couldn't believe his eyes. Was it real? Clutching the brush tightly, his hands trembling with excitement, he decided to try it. He found a smooth, flat stone and, with a hopeful stroke, painted a small hen. And then the impossible happened. The painted hen ruffled its feathers, hopped off the stone, and began to walk around, clucking contentedly. Ma Liang gasped. He blinked, rubbed his eyes, and looked again. It was real. Overwhelmed with disbelief and wonder, he quickly drew something else. This time, a fish. The moment the final stroke was complete, the fish wriggled, flipped its tail, and flopped its way to a nearby puddle, swimming away as if it had been born in the water. It was true. This was a magic brush. Whatever he painted came to life. Now, with this incredible power, what do you think Ma Liang did? Did he paint himself a palace, a mountain of treasure? No, Ma Liang had a heart as good and pure as his love for drawing. He knew exactly what he had to do. He immediately began to use the brush to help the poor and needy people in his village. He saw families shivering in the cold, so he painted them warm blankets and firewood. He saw people with empty bowls, and with a few strokes of his brush, he painted steaming bowls of rice and delicious vegetables that appeared right before their eyes. If their fields were dry and barren, Ma Liang would paint a flowing stream, and a real stream would begin to bubble up from the ground, bringing life and water to their crops. The villagers were overjoyed. They loved Ma Liang, not just for the things he gave them, but for his kindness and his selfless heart. The news of the boy with the magic brush spread like wildfire, a whisper of hope and wonder carried on the wind from village to village. But as we know, whispers can travel to places both light and dark. Eventually, the story of Maleng and his miraculous brush reached the ears of the most powerful man in the land, the greedy and selfish emperor. The emperor's eyes widened with avarice, a brush that could create anything. He had to have it. Without a moment's hesitation, the emperor dispatched his royal guards. They stormed into the peaceful village, seized poor Ma Liang, and snatched the magic brush from his hands. They dragged him back to the opulent palace and threw him before the emperor. The emperor, holding the brush, tried to paint a pile of gold coins. But when he finished, all that appeared was a pile of ordinary, worthless rocks. He tried again, painting a magnificent jewel, but it turned into a lump of mud. He grew furious. He realized the brush would not work for him. He had Maleng brought from the dungeon. "Paint for me." The emperor roared, "Paint me gold. Paint me mountains of silver and jewels." Ma Liang, brave and unyielding, stood before the powerful ruler and simply said, "No. This brush is for helping the poor, not for fulfilling your greed." Enraged by his defiance, the emperor threw Ma Liang into the darkest, coldest prison cell, but he couldn't keep the boy locked away from his plan. Soon after, he had Ma Liang dragged out again, this time with a wicked gleam in his eye. He pointed to a giant silk canvas and commanded, "Paint me a golden mountain, a mountain so big it scrapes the sky, covered entirely in shimmering gold." Ma Liang looked at the emperor, and a clever idea sparked in his mind. He agreed. He picked up his magic brush and began to paint. But he didn't start with a mountain. First, with broad, sweeping strokes, he painted a vast blue sea. The water looked so real you could almost feel the salty spray. The emperor tapped his foot impatiently. "The mountain, where is the golden mountain?" Then, right in the middle of the magnificent sea, Ma Liang painted it. A towering golden mountain that glittered and shone, so dazzling it hurt to look at. The emperor gasped, his greed making him almost dizzy with delight. It was more beautiful and more golden than he could have ever imagined. "Perfect," he shouted, clapping his hands. "Now paint me a ship, a grand, magnificent ship, so I can sail to my mountain and bring back all my gold." Ma Liang smiled faintly and obliged. He painted a large, sturdy-looking ship, complete with sails and masts, bobbing gently on the shore of the painted sea. The moment it was finished, the emperor, his court, and his most trusted ministers scrambled aboard, their minds filled with nothing but thoughts of gold. They unfurled the sails and set off toward the Golden Mountain. As the ship reached the middle of the vast painted sea, Ma Liang picked up his brush one last time. His expression turned serious. With quick, powerful strokes, he began to paint again. But this time, he wasn't painting treasure. He painted dark, swirling clouds. He painted a fierce, howling wind. Instantly, the calm sea began to churn. The wind he painted started to blow in the real world, ripping at the ship's sails. Then Ma Liang painted huge, monstrous waves. The painted waves rose up from the sea, towering over the ship like liquid mountains. The sky grew dark, the wind howled, and the emperor's grand vessel was tossed about like a tiny toy. The emperor and his men screamed in terror, but it was too late. A final colossal wave, born from the tip of Ma Liang's brush, crashed down upon them. The ship, the greedy emperor, and all his men were swallowed by the stormy sea, vanishing beneath the waves forever. And just as quickly as it appeared, the storm subsided, and the sea became calm and empty once more. From that day on, no one is quite sure where Ma Liang went. Some say he returned to his village. Others say he travels the world, forever a secret guardian to the poor and the kind. But one thing is certain, he continued to use his magic brush to paint happiness and hope for those who needed it, and never again did it fall into the hands of the greedy. And so, the legend of Ma Liang, the boy with the magic brush, lives on. Thank you so much for joining me on this magical journey today. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next adventure. Let me know in the comments what your favorite part of the story was. Until next time, stay curious and keep dreaming.